All right, shalom, shalom, and welcome back to Dr. Payne Teaches. Today we are diving in to the first chronologically of the so-called major prophets. Major only because of the amount that we have written from his prophecy. This is Yeshayahu, Isaiah. There's a lot of debate among scholars. Was Isaiah written by one person? Was he one man? Were there three Isaiahs? Were they just compiled together later? I don't know. I think there's strong evidence on all sides. I'm going to teach through it as one text, the way we have it in the canon, primarily because of the discovery in 1947, I think, of the great Isaiah scroll at Qumran, oldest copy ever found, and it was one text all the way through. What we know today as chapters 1 through 66 was there. Okay, so I can see why people try to divide it up. Maybe it was different periods of his prophecy because we don't know exactly how long he prophesied, but he prophesied a great deal. Okay, a great deal was written down of his words, and so it could be that he prophesied for many years. Different scholars debate how long. Maybe different themes. Maybe they were taken them apart and put together to categorize them. I don't know. Okay, your guess would be as good as mine, and it would just both be just guesses. But I know that the oldest copy ever found was found intact, one piece, not what they call Proto-Isaiah and Deutero-Isaiah and Tertiary Isaiah, and they go through these, break it down into three sections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach it all today in this session. I'm going to give the overview, but I'm going to do it as those sections, okay? So that you can see, and then you can decide, do you think they were separate or do you think they were one and combined later? And ultimately, does it matter? No, it's trivial. It's academic, as they say, but it will absolutely give you something to think about. All right, so we know that his ministry began in the year 739 BCE, and we know that because that is the year that King Uzziah died. And the first of those three sections is huge, okay? Maybe the longest study section in the whole Tanakh, as far as like, okay, this is one thing that goes together. It's chapters 1 through 39, okay? But they're about judgment and hope. Often called First Isaiah or Proto-Isaiah, as I said. They are oracles against Yehudah and against the nations. Yeshayahu is called. The Assyrian crisis is happening. It's taking place. We read about the remnant who escapes. And we read about what many believe is a picture of the Messianic hope. Now, I know there are some who say, oh, that's not what that is. Okay. Then what is it? Because the arguments can go both ways if you split the hairs on the Hebrew. Okay? And when people say, well, is that Messiah or is it not? I think the answer is yes. I think there are some things that get claimed as Mashiach that are not about Mashiach, and there are things that the other side denies are about Mashiach that are clearly about the coming Mashiach. So that's my take. And on the literalist traditions, Yeshayahu's prophecies are treated as historical warnings delivered during the Assyrian threat. The oracles against Yehudah and the surrounding nations are understood as literal covenant indictments, saying you did not do what I told you to do, so there's going to be a retribution. And the promises of a remnant and a messianic hope are taken as real divine assurances. Okay, that's the literalist traditions. It includes the Sadducees who later tried to say that there wasn't necessarily a literal Mashiach, that the people were Mashiach. But in their oldest records, their oldest writings that we have, they absolutely believed that these were references to Mashiach. In the rabbinic traditions, Yeshayahu's call becomes the model of prophetic mission and humility, and we see it repeated throughout the prophets. The remnant symbolizes a covenant faithfulness being preserved despite judgment. Okay, I know my people are afflicted because of their failure to keep the covenant, but I will keep the covenant. The Messianic hope is interpreted as future restoration under a righteous Davidic king. In the Hasidic movement, this judgment reflects concealment of the divine light and spiritual darkness that's caused by sin. And the remnant represents the sparks of holiness being preserved through exile and crisis. And the Messianic hope symbolizes the soul's yearning for ultimate divine revelation. In the modern Jewish movements, the oracles symbolize political crisis, ethical responsibility, and societal justice. The Syrian threat reflects historical trauma and the need for moral leadership. And the remnant and hope themes are seen as expressing resilience and the possibility of renewal. In the modern Torah movements, the messianic prophecies, or what they believe are messianic prophecies, I know not all veins of Hebraic thought agree with this, but of Yeshayahu 7, 9, and 11 are seen as foreshadowing Mashiach's birth, kingship, and peace, and that is attributed to Yeshua. Yeshayahu's call anticipates Mashiach's prophetic mission, and the remnant theme aligns very well with the faithful community being gathered around Mashiach. Okay? Now, chapters 40 through 55, which may be the second largest study block within the Tanakh, we see comfort and restoration. This is what's called Deutero-Isaiah or Second Isaiah. And we read about his promised comfort and comfort to my people. We read about a return from exile. There are what's called the servant songs. And we read about Cyrus the Liberator. In the literalist traditions, the prophecies are treated as historical messages to exiles in Babylon. The promised return to the land is understood as a real event fulfilled under Persian rule. Okay, it was promised, it happened, and Cyrus is taken as an actual historical figure chosen by Elohim to free Yisrael when the time was of Hashem's choosing. Now, in the rabbinic movements, comfort in that statement, comfort to my people, expresses a covenant renewal after a judgment. And the servant songs are interpreted as Israel's mission to bring light, specifically the light of the Torah, to the nations. And Cyrus is seen as Elohim's instrument, demonstrating divine sovereignty over multiple empires. Now, in the Hasidic movement, the comfort that is spoken of symbolizes mystical restoration and divine presence returning to the people. The servant becomes a cosmic redeemer figure embodying divine compassion, so not what the rabbinics say, but not quite what the modern Torah movement says, but kind of somewhere in between. And Cyrus represents an unexpected channel through which divine light enters the world. Okay, and we're to always be looking for Cyruses, they say. In the modern Jewish movement, the prophecies symbolize resilience, identity, and hope for restoration after a trauma. The servant songs are seen as reflective of themes of suffering, purpose, and communal mission. Okay, and Cyrus's role highlights the complexity of diaspora politics and liberation. In the modern Torah movements, the servant songs, especially Yeshayahu 53, are seen as foreshadowing Mashiach's suffering, atonement, and redemption. And I can see arguments on both sides here. I can see where the traditional Jews say, oh, they took that out of context to try to make it fit Yeshua. And I can see where people who believe in Yeshua can look at it and say, that is absolutely our guy. I would challenge both sides to reread it with an open mind and see what you come to. There's some great conversation to be had there. And, the question is asked, well, is it Israel or is it the Messiah of Israel? Personally, I would say yes, but that's a whole other video. Comfort for my people anticipates the gospel message of salvation, and Cyrus prefigures Mashiach as liberator who brings a spiritual return. Now, in chapters 56 through 66, sometimes called Third Isaiah, read about the future glory and a universal vision of salvation. Okay, one thing that I love about the Hebraic faith is that it's never been absolutely exclusive. Unlike any other religion I've ever studied, you're not either in or out. Okay, you can be in the tribe and you can be grafted in through coming to live under the law by which we're supposed to live. Any other religion I've ever seen, you're in or you're out. And the Hebraic faith is for everyone, in the sense that even if you're not 100% in, even if you're not 100% striving for Torah observance, there's a place for you. Okay, and Yeshayahu spells it out very clearly. There's an inclusion of foreigners if they will do a few simple things, turn away their foot from defiling the Sabbath, put away their altars and their idols, stop eating unclean things. There's a handful of things given there. And he says, if you will do this, then I will give you a name greater than sons and daughters and a place to dwell on my holy mountain. Okay? And for those people who say, well, I'm a Christian, that doesn't apply to me, that's a different thing. This is actually where Yeshua was quoting from when he said, it is written that my house will be a house of prayer for all nations. That actually comes from this block of text. And so I would encourage you to go back and read that in context, because in context is the only way it can be properly interpreted. We read about a new heavens and a new earth. I know. A lot of people say, oh, well, that's a Ber Hadesh thing. It's a New Testament thing. It's a Yeshayahu thing. Okay? And he tells us some things about the new heavens and the new earth. Actually, literally the renewed heavens and the renewed earth, if you really get down to it. That may change your mind if you've only read the Ber Hadesh, what it says about it. There's some things going on there that you may not be aware of, that it would enrich your study to go back and read. Final judgment comes in a universal worship. Okay? All worshiping the one true Creator. Now, in the literalist traditions, these prophecies are treated as historical messages to the restored community, the community that was going to come after the exile. The inclusion of foreigners is understood as a real expansion of covenant participation. And what I say, expansion is more like a more intentional expansion. We had been expanding already. Okay, it was a mixed multitude at the base of Har Sinai. Root, Rehav. Okay, we see Caleb. Okay, he was a Canaanite. He was a chief among the Yehudim, but he was not Yehudim himself. Okay, people had come from the outside all along. But this is a picture of that happening in abundance. A grafting in of sorts. The new heavens and the new earth are taken as eschatological promises. A real thing that's going to really happen. And like I said, it's actually renewed. I should change my notes there. In the rabbinic traditions, the inclusion reflects Torah's universality. All nations may join in righteousness if they choose. The renewed heavens and earth symbolize eschatological hope for ultimate renewal, and final judgment affirms divine justice and covenant accountability. In the Hasidic movement, the universal vision represents mystical union of all sparks returning to their source. The new creation symbolizes cosmic renewal and divine light fully revealed, and the inclusion of foreigners reflects the soul's universal longing for Elohim. We all know that we came from somewhere. It's a matter of us. We should be seeking that, and I think most people are seeking it. A great number are just going to the wrong sources. In the modern Jewish movements, the prophecies symbolize justice, inclusivity, and ethical transformation. Renewal imagery reflects hope and societal and spiritual renewal, and universal worship expresses a vision of harmony and shared humanity. And in the modern Torah movements, the universal vision foreshadows Mashiach's kingdom embracing all nations. Okay? The renewed heavens and earth anticipate the eschatological hope that the Messianic movement and the two house and all that are looking forward to from the Brit Hadesh, and the inclusion of foreigners aligns perfectly with the gospel's expansion beyond Israel. Okay, that is a quick overview of the book of Yeshayahu from beginning to end. Does it do it justice? Absolutely not. You spend a lifetime digging into that one amazing book. I'm challenging you between now and when the next video comes out in a week, dig into that book. Think about the things that the different Menim, the others over time, have thought and have taught. And I encourage you to ask yourself, what does this mean to me today in whoever I am, Jew, Messianic Jew, two-house, atheist, trying to figure out why people believe this. Ask yourself, why did they believe these things? And what does it say to me? This is Dr. Philip Payne signing off for Mountain Menim and Dr. Payne Teaches. Until next time, dig deeper. Sharpen some iron.